Thank you for checking out this week's episode of the Weekly Grind Podcast. We are on episode number 5, and we will just be talking about a little bit of competitive play, some tournament coverage, and we'll also be going over some decks that we've brewed up and just what we've been playing this week. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/theweeklygrindpodcast, Tumblr at theweeklygrindpodcast.tumblr.com, on Twitter at twitter.com/weeklygrindpod. You can also find us on YouTube and iTunes. And shout out to Daniel this week for the great response. We really appreciate any criticism that you can send to us. And you can also contact us directly at theweeklygrindpodcast@gmail.com. And thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the show. Alright, thank you for checking into this week's episode of the Weekly Grind Podcast. I am your host, Josh. My name is SpiritBomb.
My name is Dave. I play as WingsofWax.
I'm Luke, and I play as Entropy.
And I'm Paul, and I play as Ricecakes.
Alright, so let's start off the week with asking, what has everybody's favorite class been this week?
Who are we starting with?
Let's go with Paul.
With me. I don't know, I've been jumping around classes, like, I've been playing Warrior. I haven't really progressed from where I was last week. Like, I've jumped to rank 5, and then I'm back down to rank 6, and I don't know. I don't really have a favorite this week. I've been jumping around. It's like, yeah, I don't even know. I don't know.
We made some videos recently.
We did make videos recently. But
So what would be, like, your most played class?
I mean, we played Mage a ton last week.
Yeah.
Like, Monday, was it? Monday. It was Monday. Yeah.
You can find those videos on our YouTube, right?
Yep.
Cool.
And you can find them on Facebook and whatever. Yeah.
Facebook and Tumblr and...
yeah, I don't know what sites were actually posted to,
Places
but I know
where
Facebook.
Things are.
Yeah, you can find our content.
Social media.
Yeah, on our social media. Yeah, on our social media sites you'll find them. And Luke, what was your favorite class this week?
I was playing a lot of Hunter the most. I don't know if it's my favorite because I'm not a terrible human being, so it's not my favorite. But it's a consistent aggro deck, and if you want to climb some ranks, it's kind of what you do.
Yeah, very very fun deck. How about you, Dave? What was your favorite class this week?
I've also been playing a lot of Hunter this week.
But he does like it because he is a bad person.
Yeah, he does.
Agreed. I don't know, I just added some new things and listened to a lot of different people talk about Hunter, so I decided to give it a whirl this week, and it's been working out pretty well.
Yeah. I'm going to have to say this week for me, my favorite class was Mage. I don't have to go with Paul, so we're kind of divided here with Hunters against Mages, but mine was for different reasons. I was just playing a lot of...
Hunters beat Mage, though.
I was playing a lot of Arena, and what happened in the Arena in this like span of a week that I was on vacation, like right before I left I got a 12 win, like the night before I left for vacation, and then like during my vacation at the end I was at the hotel room and I was so close. I had 11 wins, and I'm like, I'm gonna screenshot my list because everybody's asking me to screenshot my list when I get 12 wins, and I went 11-3. So it's like, it's like now that I do it, like shucks, because it's so. I feel like it's hard to get the entire screenshot when you get to 12 because you don't want to click on the screen and have it like switch over. You're trying to like scroll down and
Trying to fit 2 screenshots together, basically.
Right. I've just had a lot of success with Mage, but at the same time I've had a lot of non-success with Mage this week because I've had a couple decks that were just really bad. Like one of them had a Light Warden in it, and I'm like, this is the most pointless card in this deck. Like I have an Earthen Ring Farseer, but it's really still not that good. Like
you thought what was it? Goldshire Footman was sweet.
Yeah.
Now imagine if it didn't have taunt.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a very good card, and it takes up a rare slot, so you're just Anyways, let's move on to the next section, which we have tournament coverage. Now, I know I've been checking into some tournaments, and you guys have talked to me about checking into tournaments. What have you guys watched? Dave, what have you watched?
I've been watching Seat Story.
Seat Story? I was watching some of that, too.
Been watching that for like 3 days now.
Yeah.
But just, checking in on whatever players are on. I'm pretty sure I watched A lot of Rainad playing. I watched a lot of Maz. I watched a lot of Trump. And I don't think I caught any Kalento games, which I'm really sad about that, actually, because I really wanted to watch some Kalento.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good players for Seat Story Cup. I'm actually surprised it's gone on this long, though.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to go for like almost a week, right?
Yeah, I thought it was only going to be like a weekend, and it just happened to be like almost all week.
Yeah. It was funny, you're just watching it like, I wish I was there. Like,
I want to go to Germany just so I can play.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. I caught a couple of matches too. I caught like the Nimish versus, I always mess up, I said this to you. Thijs, yeah. Thijs. I watched Thijs versus Nimish. I watched, I think it was, the bracket above that was like Thijs and, wasn't Savage, I think his name was. Savage. I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
Silence. Everyone's like, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who that is.
I
So
don't know.
I'm American. I'm not. I don't know what things are.
yeah. But yeah, it was really.
I'm pretty sure.
It was really fun to watch. Nimish had some really interesting decks in that matchup, but it was
Interesting in what way?
I heard about that Druid deck that
yeah.
makes me skeptical.
he made a Druid deck that was the Malagos, was it Malagod Druid?
I have been seeing
Is
people
what
play
it's
that
called?
list.
Yeah, I built it a long time ago.
It was really
It was fun.
interesting. He said he had a lot of success on the rank ladder. I haven't really tried it on the rank ladder.
Man, you know how
but-
good Swipe is with Malagos out?
Yeah, I can understand that, but that's counting on either double Innervate or like Innervate coin.
Don't
which
do
I
that.
No,
don't
you
know.
just let the Malagos live.
Yeah,
It has-
that's all you have to rely on is your Malagos.
And I think
Yeah.
you just need.
Or you just play it in Moonfire or something for 0 and deal 6.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Makes Soulfire look bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was very interesting to watch. Paul or Luke, did you watch any tournaments at all, or?
I just saw like one match of someone playing the Malagos Rogue deck, and that looked kind of cool. But
Yeah.
I haven't had much success with Rogue since the nerf. Like, it's still a decent deck, but
Yeah.
now there's just other decks to play, and I'd just rather do that.
I actually did watch another tournament too. I watched a little bit of the House Cup, which I think was like 2 weeks ago. I was watching it on YouTube, and it was cool. The last match was Kalento versus Amaz, and I wish I checked in on that, but I was on vacation. I fell asleep watching it, but I was watching a ton of games before it. It was really cool. One of the games was with Amaz too, and he was playing Hunter. I'm trying to remember who his opponent was, but it was cool to watch. There was a lot of stuff going on. I checked it out on YouTube too. The House Cup for Hearthstone. That was a good tournament that they had going on with a lot of good players and a very homey environment. They're just playing on iPads and sitting and eating pizza and hanging out. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch. Moving on to our next section, we have the weekly grind, and this is basically just talking about what you've been grinding with, and I guess just take it straight from there. So I have been grinding with a little bit of Paladin this week. Not so much. I've more been doing Zoo, but I feel like I talk about Zoo every time we do this podcast. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Paladin because I've played a fair amount of Paladin too. It was more for a quest, and then I was like, wait, this is actually pretty fun, pretty good. It's especially, I feel like it's a good matchup against like Handlock. I think it has a really good matchup.
Yeah,
because
the
like
equality is good
yeah,
too, with
you
the
have
Peacekeepers.
Right, with the Peacekeepers too. That's definitely true. There's a lot of cool things that interactions that you have with Consecrate and like Pyromancer Equality or Equality Consecrate, you know. But I mean, it's a very solid deck. It has a lot of bombs, and you get a lot of bombs out before you play your Tyrion too. I feel I play some Sunwalkers on my list. The list that we have doesn't play them, but I have cards that are just like distractions in front of. It's very similar to the list that we have, though. I think the only difference was the Sunwalkers, but we'll go over that when we go over our decks. But how about you, Dave? What have you been grinding this week? You were saying Hunter?
Yeah, a lot of Hunter lately. I ended up trying to fit Knife Jugglers into my Hunter list, and I cut one of Hunter's Mark to squeeze an extra, or just to squeeze like an Ironbeak Owl in, because silencing minions has become a little more relevant, I feel like, this past week. Actually, probably since the Nax release, honestly. because Undertaker is just a really good card, so silence in general. And you also still have like Sludge Belchers and Twilight Drakes that you want to be able to silence.
Sludge Belcher's annoying.
Yeah. There's also one of Snake Trap in the list, just so that you can actually trigger with your Knife Jugglers. And I also had a one of Timberwolf in the deck because it happened to just finish out a lot of games, like especially against like Shaman. You can just use your Unleash the Hounds as like a burn spell, basically.
How about you, Luke? What have you been grinding this week?
I was grinding the same thing. I was grinding Hunter, but a different list, because I actually disagree a bit where I don't like the Timberwolf and Hunter, because it by itself doesn't do anything, and you need it works with some of your other cards, but
Makes your kill command better.
yeah, I guess it is
Gives
a
you an
beast
extra
it is a
card,
beast
yeah.
for your kill command. But it was just like I don't want to top deck a 1-mana 1/1.
I just liked
Yeah.
it for like the Snake Trap value and the Unleash
But you have
value.
one Snake Trap.
True. That's
So
fine.
I'm like,
Yeah, but there's two Mad Scientists.
but yeah, that I would almost rather play instead of that play a second Snake Trap, because I actually like Snake Trap with Knife Juggler. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I just don't like running too many traps because then you just run into Flare too often.
Well, that you play around Flare. You don't just don't play into the Flare, because you're already with Mad Scientist in the deck. You're going to be playing with Secrets. It's too good not to play with Secrets in your deck because of that card.
Yeah.
So Flare is going to affect you. So you kind of just have to play, if it's the mirror, you have to play in according, knowing they're going to probably just assume they have 2 Flares. Don't ever double up on a Secret if you can at all help it. You just have to play around it. But I actually like having the two Snake Traps, because it's 2 mana for 3 1/1 beasts.
Yeah.
Not a bad deal.
Very
It's
true.
not hard to trigger it.
Yeah.
There was a card that I know we both decided on cutting from our Hunter list, and that was Cult Master.
Oh yeah, that was. I had one in my list for a little while just to try it, because you want to live the dream, but it's not.
I
good
didn't
enough.
think it was.
I actually did see some 100 players playing Cult Master this week, so it was.
It just
wa-
feels
wa-
too gimmicky.
it's like
Hey
good
man,
in
some
theory.
people actually do live in a magical Christmas land.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people, but some people do, and that's great for them. I mean, I
one
hate
mana
them
less
for
than
it.
Scavenging Buzzard, or yeah, Scavenging
Starving
Starving Buzzard. Yep, and it's not a beast.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's kind of funny, honestly.
Yeah.
I gave it a shot. I wasn't really a fan of it myself either. But Paul, what deck did you grind this week?
Like I said, I've just been experimenting with stuff, and it's actually funny that Dave brought up about the silencing is more important than ever. I've been trying a one-of Mass Dispel in Priest. It's actually been
I've seen
really
it.
good.
Has it?
It draws a card, dude. It says draw a card on it. It's a good card.
Yeah, but it's 4 mana.
4 mana
You
silence
don't
to do
put a
your
presence
fun
on the
guys.
board for 4 mana.
For
Yeah,
for
well,
base
it's
control, I could see it.
late game, if you draw it on turn 10 and you have to and you Mass Dispel everything, you still have 6 mana. It's not like you're not just playing it on turn 4 to draw a card like an idiot.
I don't know, I'd rather have a card that I would just want to cast on curve all the time.
I don't know, with things like Carrion Bloodhoof and Sylvanas from Windrunner, there's just so many good.
You can just play
Sludge
a
Belcher.
0 mana silence. That is a card.
I
that I've
mean,
been seeing a lot of
the
priest
Mass
lists.
Dispel silences everything.
Well, wait, Paul, is this in a control priest or a death rattle more aggressive?
It was in one of the deck lists that I saw. It was more.
What kind of cards were you playing? Undertaker and stuff like that, or
Yeah.
Because
It was just a one-of.
It seems fine.
It was
but
with Sludge Belchers.
it
and
clears
stuff.
taunt, and also in that deck, since you don't play Wild Pyromancer, right?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. That deck, you can't really use the card Silence effectively. You'll get no value for it ever. It's almost just the silencing is never really going to be worth the whole card.
Yeah.
But with the Master Spell, it'll clear the taunts on the other side.
Yeah.
It seems fine.
It's like an aggro shell deck. It plays 2 Holy Fires.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how you fit it, because those priest lists are really tight with
pretty
cards.
tight, yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
But
play.
it seems fine.
I'm trying to think. It's a little weird. It's actually on Hearthstone Top Deck. That's where I actually got it. I was trying it. I haven't really played that much with it. I saw it this morning, and then I went to work.
Yeah, that is.
So,
that is neat.
I
It's
didn't
tough
really
to fit
play
in,
it
but-
that much. I think I played 1 game with it.
Cool. Very interesting.
And I had golden ones. I didn't even craft mine.
wait, didn't
just
you get
opened them.
something else as golden too?
Mad Scientist?
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
So
Pretty great golden.
while we're still in this weekly grind section, we're just gonna go through the metagame breakdown, and also just go through the most played cards, most played legendaries, epics, and rares that are found on HearthstoneTopDeck.com. And we have the metagame breakdown by class, by type, and most played cards as far as legendaries, epics, and rares. So, Dave, if you want to start this off, could you just tell us what are the most played legendaries in the set?
Did you want to start with the cards, or did you want to start with the classes?
Let's start with the cards.
Okay. Our most played legendaries this week is number 1 is Lotheb, which doesn't really surprise me. It gets played in
Most
almost
everyone
every deck.
has one in their collection already.
Yeah.
There's number 2 is the Black Knight, which also doesn't surprise me, but actually kind of does.
I thought Sylvanas Windrunner.
Yeah, I thought Sylvanas. I thought it would have been flipped, and Sylvanas would have been number 2,
Well,
but still.
Number 3 is Sylvanas Windrunner,
Right.
which I actually I'm kind of surprised that Sylvanas is not number 2, and number 3 would be like Kareen Bloodhoof or something like that. But because I've seen more Bloodhoofs than I have Black Knights lately.
It's all it's tough because they're actually good against the same type of decks.
Yeah.
I think that just means that like
Carrying Bloodhoof's 4th. And he's not happy about it.
I don't know what else would, I guess, like Blood Mage, but I haven't really been seeing a ton of Blood Mages
I don't think
lately.
Blood Mage might.
it's a good card, but there's not that many decks in one of Blood
I mean,
Mage.
Rogue's not really.
Rogue, sometimes Shaman and Druid.
I mean, the
Yeah.
legendary list
Mage.
makes sense, so. Like, Lotheb is definitely the most played card. Black
Yeah.
Knight is definitely, like, a solid card against, like, Sludge Belchers at the very least.
Yeah.
And Sylvanas is just there for fatties.
I mean, Sludge Belcher's top rare, Defender of Argus is top rare, or one of the top rares. I mean, having the Black Knight doesn't seem unreasonable. Alright, so moving on to the next one, we have the three most played epics on HearthstoneTopDeck.com. And Luke, you just want to go through those 3?
Yeah, it's the top off is Shade of Naxxramas, which is pretty obvious because like with the Nax stuff, you know, if you have the expansion, you have the epics.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
Shades, yep.
a really efficient turn 3. Then it's Ancient of Lore.
Which,
you
if
know,
you're playing
if
Druid,
you're playing Druid, you're playing 2 of it, no
Yeah.
matter what. I don't think I've ever seen a Druid list that has less than that many Ancient of Lores. And number 3 is Molten Giant, which is just Handlock. So it's
Handlock and Giant Mage, actually.
yeah, but mostly Handlock.
Yeah, true.
Because even not all the Freeze Mages are the Giant version.
I have been seeing a lot of Giant Mages lately, but Freeze Mage, I think, is just a little better.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of mages lately, period, I'd say, but
To me, those
It's
two
been a
decks,
good amount.
they're very similar, except Giant Mage is more awkward.
yeah. Yeah. Alright, and we're going to move on to the most played rares, the top 5 most played rares in this right now. And the first one is Sludge Belcher, which is pretty assumed. I feel like I've seen
Paul
it.
didn't squeal. What's going on?
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, I'm just always right. So
Ouch.
I said this like
He was like, of course it is. What
Yeah.
would possibly be played more than Sludge Belcher? I thought we
Yeah.
just all knew that it was going to be the most
think
played.
like 6 months ago. What do you think would be on the top of that list? Would it be
Probably
Azure Drake?
Defender of
Probably
Argus?
Defender of Argus.
Yeah, probably Defender.
I don't know. Azure Drake was like played a lot.
Azure
It
Drake
was.
was really good.
Yeah.
It was probably like 1 and 2.
And number 2 on the list is Defender of Argus, which
Gasp.
is, it's just really good. Makes 2 of your guys' tonters on the table. 1 if you need it. And number 3 on the list is Wild Pyromancer,
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
which is pretty interesting. I think it's a good card, though. I mean,
Been seeing it a lot more in priest decks. I'm trying to think of what
yeah,
on
the
list
control
now.
control priest and then paladin.
Paladin.
Yeah, Paladins do play it. Yep.
yeah, Priest is pretty popular right now, and Paladin is. Paladin's about at the middle, but we'll
Yeah,
talk
paladin
about.
pretty much always plays it, and priest sometimes plays it.
Yeah, definitely. And number 4 is Azure Drake, which is just a good value card, draw a card, spell damage, 4/4 for 5.
Yeah.
And then we also have at number 5 we have Keeper of the Grove, which
If you're playing Druid, you should have 2 of them in your
Yes.
list.
yeah,
Same
every
with the
every druid should play it. Pretty much, I think.
Play 2 of them. If you're
When
not,
you're-
you're probably doing something wrong.
Yeah.
When you play against Warlock, it's like one of those cards that you always keep against Warlock, because no matter if it's Handlock or if it's Zoo, it's just going to get so much value.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, and moving on to the metagame breakdown by class. Let's start from the top here. You want to start off, Dave?
So at 22%, the top of our class, we have Warlock, which doesn't really surprise me at all. I mean, you get Handlock and Zoo.
Yeah, I was gonna say it covers both ends, and
Yeah, you get aggro.
it's got
and
one of the
control.
most inexpensive decks.
Exactly. Number 2 kind of surprises me, which is Druid.
Yeah.
I've actually been seeing a decrease in Druid lately. Well, I think it's just not as reliable as it usually is. Number 3 is Priest, and that's at 13%. That doesn't really surprise me though, because Priest is still
Yeah,
in
now
the top.
now it has a similar thing to Warlock, where there's like a decent, it's better than decent. There's a good aggressive Priest Death Rattle deck, and there's a good control Priest list, so it'll make up for
Exactly.
a larger share of the metagame.
Number 4 is Rogue, and that's at 12%. That's actually kind of a little surprising to me because I haven't really been seeing a lot of Rogue lately either.
This is where you can tell that this is like tournament
Yeah.
metagame breakdowns more than the ladder metagame breakdown. Because if you're on the ladder, 12% of your opponents will not be rogues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It won't be. It'll be like 5% maybe.
Mm.
Maybe.
It's like a guide. Yeah, it's...
Yeah, it's a good like level, but this is where like in a tournament it's much more attractive to play something like Rogue, where Rogue has some really good matchups. Like it has a few really good matchups and a bunch of okay, not
But that,
amazing matchups.
that last
Yeah.
one makes sense.
Well,
You
we'll get
rarely
there.
see that.
I agree.
Number 5 is Paladin. That's at 10%. I don't know. I've been seeing an increase in Paladin lately.
It's got a decent hunter matchup.
Yeah,
Like they gain a lot of life.
and it's also just a good, solid control.
It's
deck
pretty good against
like,
Zoo, too.
Against like control and control matchups.
Yeah, and its handlock's not terrible,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like at least
it's pretty good
50%.
against
Right.
Zoo. Like,
which is
taunts.
better than most control decks do against handlock.
Yeah, exactly. Shaman is number 6, and that is at 10%.
Yeah, that's mostly bots. This is tournaments. This is tournaments.
Probably 8% of
I was
those.
gonna say.
Actually, there's probably more shamans than there is any other like control list on ladder.
Oh yeah, because you can bot it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like shaman and probably like the real ladder or metagame breakdown would probably be like 20 to 25% probably just from all the bots.
Yeah, if there was no botting, it would be like a tiny percent. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's okay, nothing special.
Number 7 is Hunter, and that's at 9%, which I've actually been seeing an increase in Hunter as well lately.
Well, this is like this is another point where it's
Yeah.
very obvious it's tournament, because in a tournament you don't want to bring that aggro deck because you know you're going to sit across from someone that has a bunch of grindy, slow, I'm going to gain life, I'm going to put taunts in your way, and you're just never going to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
Part of like the real metagame with Hunter, that is, it'd probably be like 20% as well.
I was going to say, yeah, Hunter is huge on
Yeah.
the ladder.
It's probably like
you will
just
see
as
it,
popular as like
expect to play against it, have a game plan for when you do play against it.
Yeah.
Know what you need to do against it, because it's going to happen.
We're at number 8, and that is Mage, and that is only 5%. Which doesn't really surprise me for this list.
Nah.
Number 9 is Warrior, which is also 5%.
I hate warriors.
But
They're just not
It surprises me. I love Warrior.
Yeah, Gromlock would kill any of those other ones.
Warrior's just not that good right now. Like
What?
It's decent.
Oh, please.
You
I mean-
do still like warrior right now?
Yeah, I do. I still have a lot of fun
I
with
mean,
it.
I like Gromlock Hellstream because he's pretty awesome.
You just have to know your game plan against aggro decks, because like that's the toughest part.
Against all
Yeah, I was gonna
matchups.
say, I hate
I mean-
Handlock. Every time I play against it when I'm playing
Oh,
Handlock,
God,
Well, you play,
it's
like,
a
Execute,
horrible-
shield slams. You have like
Yeah, but they have more 8/8s than you have. You have 2 executes, 2 shield slams.
that's true, but you also play
Or-
the brawls. You know, like
You play a brawl.
a brawl. Yeah,
And probably
a
a
brawl.
BGH and probably a Black
Yeah,
Knight.
exactly.
Well, yeah, they're not going to give their 8/8s a taunt.
True.
That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
They're probably not even going to
Okay,
give their
then
Twilight
I,
Drake taunt.
I still enjoy the lists.
I feel
I-
like you have a more difficult
I
problem
mean, I
with
like the
Twilight
list. I
Drakes.
just don't
Yeah.
think the Zoo matchup's good. It's bad for you.
Yeah, Zoo's pretty difficult.
The Hunter matchup's probably pretty good now
I
that
think
they're
Zoo's easier
not
than
always
Handlock.
playing 2
Yeah.
high mains.
Hmm.
Because high main was a problem for warrior.
I think Warrior
Yeah.
has a real good matchup against Hunter. That's just me.
Well,
Maybe I'm
the
just
high
rough.
mains were a huge problem because like you control
Oh,
the board, you keep
can't,
your
you
life.
can't silence them.
Yeah, they just slam a high main and you're like, oh, this is like a Karen Bloodhoof, but way worse for me. And
They have 2 of them.
yeah, and they get to play 2 of them.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, moving on to the metagame breakdown by type. We have aggro at 11%, mid-range at 35%, control at 43%, in combo at 11%. Now keep in mind this is just for the decks that are posted on the website in these tournaments. So that's really just what has been seen in these tournaments.
Yeah, it's like there's 11% aggro decks in tournaments.
Right.
On the ladder, it's people are trying to get through games faster.
It's
They're trying to
probably
get
like at
ranks
least
up.
40 to 50.
Yeah, it might even be higher than 50% aggro.
Yeah.
And maybe not.
I don't know. I feel like
Mid-range
I'd say
is
mid-range more.
I was gonna say mid-range is like the most, I think, the easiest type of Hearthstone deck to kind of construct and play consistently.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of important to be able to shift gears, like from like being more aggressive to like kind of controlling the board. And aggro decks don't really do that very well. And if they do just slam a Sludge Belcher, like what do you do?
Oops.
Hope you just have everything you need.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on to the next section of the Weekly Grind podcast, we're just going to go over our top cards of the week. You know, one card that might be just outperforming for us individually, maybe something that's just stuck out like a sore thumb. So moving on to Paul, what has been your standout card this week?
I'll give you a hint. It's a weapon.
It's a weapon.
True Silver Champion. That card's dumb. Like, if it had a brain, it'd be dumb.
If it had a brain, it would be dumb.
Yeah. Guess that makes no sense.
That's a great statement, Paul.
So that's how good it is.
Yeah.
Well,
What's
if it looks that good, it can't be smart.
I mean, it doesn't look good. It just is good.
It doesn't look good when you're.
I mean,
playing
if
Arena,
it's
it comes
golden,
up-
when it's golden.
Well, I'm just thinking about Arena when they offer it as a pick. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah,
it's so
Arena.
good.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was talking about constructed. I mean, it's really good in constructed.
It's good in both.
Yeah.
No, it's really, really good. You can get 5 of them in Arena, so that's better. I've gotten it before. It happened.
Yeah, really good. And moving on to Dave, has there been any standout card for you this week?
I guess my standout card would be Knife Juggler this week. It's been performing obviously really well in Zoo like it always does, and I've just been throwing it into my Hunter list, and it's been doing more things in my Hunter list lately too.
Knife Juggler, yeah, definitely.
Good card.
I totally agree.
I opened a golden one the other day.
Nice.
I'm jealous. So Luke, what has been your standout card for this week?
Mine isn't one that I'm playing in the Hunter deck right now, but it's actually Zombie Chow. I've been picking it more in Arena, and like just in Arena and in Constructed and like the Priest decks and things. This is a really great card, especially for Arena. Like a 1-mana 2/3, the downside's negligible. You don't really care that much about them gaining 5
Especially
in
early on in
Arena.
the
Yeah,
game.
before turn like 7 or 8, you don't even care about their life total really in Arena. Like,
Right.
It's almost irrelevant.
Yeah.
It does trade up with a 2-drop, sometimes a 3-drop. So
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And I would say that my top card of the week this week has definitely been Fireball for me, just because.
didn't you already pick that?
Fireball.
Oh wait,
Did I
that was
pick
wasn't
Fireball?
that Paul's? No, that was Paul's from like
Was it
episode
Fireball?
2.
Yeah, it was Fireball.
Oh, it was.
Turns out killing people is still good.
Yes, killing people is just awesome. And there was
That's a
one
good
arena,
card.
the one that I got 12 wins, I had 5 Fireballs, so I'm okay with
I mean,
that.
if you
Yeah,
didn't
it
get 12
turns out
wins,
that's 30 damage.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage to the face, and I was okay with that. There was actually one game where I just had 4 Fireballs in my hand, and I'm just like, deal you 16 this turn, deal you 16 next turn. And like, I mean, it didn't come down to 16, but
Yeah.
I only really needed 3 Fireballs to kill him, but it totally worked. That was like turn 7. It was like, and then I go into turn 8 and I just double Fireball his face, and he's like, okay, like,
Guess you had it.
yeah, like,
Not much you can do about losing to that.
Right, right.
Guess he's just gonna fireball me a bunch of times.
yeah. Such a good card, just like, especially like we were talking about with the arena we started, which we're gonna hop back into that after this podcast. But Fireball, what was I gonna say? Fireball takes out fatties. It's really good with taking down the big creatures too, and it's just good at performing in that type of fashion if you really need it. But yeah, moving on to our next section, we have our favorite weekly streamers. And guys, do you have any favorite weekly streamers this week? Anybody want to step out?
I'm just gonna say that it's very hard for me because I work a lot. Like, it's really hard for me to watch streams.
And I just don't do it.
Yeah, what he said.
What do you mean? Your favorite streamer is the Gabe Walls, even though you don't watch him.
He is really good. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Man, the
I mean,
Space Jam
instead of
theme.
watching
Oh,
instead
that's
of
a
watching
great
streams, I
song.
just play. I like playing.
I
Yeah.
like watching streams while I play.
I mean, I can't do that because
Look up another monitor. You'll be ready to go right there.
Nah.
You even got all the equipment at your
I'm
house to
watching
do it.
like Pawn Stars on the TV or something. I'm watching something on the TV. South Park.
Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, new season's out.
I actually have a new streamer that just started this past week. His name is Black Tide. He owns his own company and doesn't really need to play Hearthstone. He just does it for fun. That's like what he enjoys.
Well, it is a game.
Yeah, exactly. But he's not like trying to become professional at it or anything like that.
Sure.
Which a lot of people that I see play the game are trying to become professional at it.
Makes me sad inside. Not that like no one will do it, because some of those people will definitely succeed. But it seems like, man, you should just like it's a game. You should probably like I don't know.
You can make a living off of it. Why not?
Well, yeah, but it's like to strive at like when you're like gonna work so hard at a game where you're like we need to turn this into a thing to make money. It's like, man, you should just play it like a game. If you're good enough to make money, that's great.
Yeah.
And you should try and do that because that's awesome. But it's like I don't know, play a game.
But anyways,
just play. There's nothing wrong with it being a game.
Yeah.
He was in a tournament and he played against a round 1 opponent and beat him 2-0. Actually 2-1, I'm pretty sure, because it was best out of 3. Then he goes into round 2, and apparently the round 1 opponent that he faced against was messaged by his round 2 opponent asking him what 2 decks Black Tide was playing. And the guy let him know like he's going from, I think it was Handlock into Priest. So the guy, for his first round in round 2, the game 1 was he picked Hunter, and then after he picked Priest, Black Tide picked Priest to beat the Hunter deck. After they were both 1-1, and then as they went to their third game, the other guy picked a Warrior deck to just out to roll his Priest list. So he was already prepared basically for his 2 deck lists that he had, and he kind of was just like bummed out and messaged his first round opponent, because his first round opponent was like, did he crush you like 2-0? And he's like, yeah, he did. I don't know how. He knew exactly what I was going to play because he had the counter picks for every single time. And then he told him that he had his round 1 opponent had finally messaged him back saying that he had let the second round opponent know that he told him what his deck lists were. So that was one of the big things. And that was only to play for like, I think it was like $1,000, but he was just kind of bummed out and was like, it's a form of cheating, even though it's not something that you can get reprimanded for.
This is a weird, like, that's a weird area where I get why that it feels like that is cheating, but I know in things like I'm more familiar with Magic events, and like if you bump into an opponent of someone, like asking what like someone you might run into's deck, what they're playing, if you could get information outside the match before your match starts, there's nothing really wrong with it, but it is more shady in a game where you're like messaging, like exactly who they played against, so you can go there. It's not like you just...
They have like a half hour till the next round starts.
Right, yeah,
but
so they can actually go and find the person. It gets more hazy there, where it's not like you bumped into somebody at a tournament and they told you what someone was playing.
But anyways, he's a really, really good handlock player. He plays some Priest too. I would recommend, if you want to learn some handlock, check out his stream, because he streams like probably at least 3 times out of the week, maybe more. He's also brand new, so I'm sure he would enjoy some new followers.
Cool. Yeah, I'd say that my favorite streamer this week, which I haven't actually really been streaming, I've just been watching his YouTube videos, or Crip, and he just had a lot of interesting videos. I've actually learned a couple things, just like how to play the Hearthstats draft simulator that they have, which seems really fun. It's just 2-person draft format. And he also had a couple videos. There was actually a video where he had like the worst play in Hearthstone, which you should check that out on his YouTube if you get a chance. But basically this guy had like the win in his hand in a tournament and just lost because he made a simple misplay. And you'll see what I mean. If you just watch the video online, you'll find it on there.
Is it glaringly obvious? I haven't actually seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the one I was explaining with the trap and the 2 playing.
He played
Hunter.
around the wrong trap.
Yeah, he played around the wrong trap, pretty much. Well, like he just did a very senseless move. Like he
played around something that he had no way to beat if it was the thing he was playing around.
Right.
Like if it was a freezing trap, he was going to lose that game.
Right.
No matter what, you're gonna lose. So you don't play around freezing trap because there's no point.
Well, not even like he was gonna lose. He was just. It looked like he was so far ahead for most of that game, and then that situation occurred, and he just lost the game because of it.
Yeah.
And you could just see the guy that he's playing against in his face is just like, what? Yeah.
You're waiting to die, and you're like, wait, what just happened?
You're
Why
like,
am I not dead?
What?
Did I just win?
Yeah. Like, that's what he was hoping would happen. He was like, this would happen in the best case scenario, and it happened. So I definitely checked that out on Crip's stream. You'll definitely learn a lot just from watching his stream. Or, not even stream, but his YouTube. On his YouTube, he has a lot of things posted up there.
He's a really strong arena player, too.
Yeah.
He also, like, does dual arenas at the same time, which I thought was pretty sweet.
That is cool. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch his stream. Anyways,
he'll have 2 accounts up on 2 different monitors and then play for each one.
Oh,
you giving me a weird look, Paul, so I was just
I
trying
did give you a weird
explain
look.
it.
moving on to the final section of our podcast is just in-game stories. If you guys have any in-game stories that you would
There was
like to
actually
talk
a
about.
game that me and Dave played. I can't remember exactly what class, but I think we Alex Straws'd ourselves, and our opponent cracked our second block next turn, and Dave's like, oh, we lose if he finds like X amount. He needed to find like a couple extra points of damage. I think it might have been Zoo, maybe?
I don't remember.
I don't know. Maybe it might have been on one of our videos, but one of our blocks cracked, and he didn't have the extra points of damage, but then we just killed him after that.
So he cracked your ice block, had a turn
Yeah,
to
and
kill
he-
you, and you
and-
only needed a
oh, I
couple
think-
points to do it.
Yeah,
we
and
were
he's like, just concede, and I'm like, oh, I'll just play it out.
I
We ended up
think we
winning.
had like 4 life, so like we just...
He just
We're
has to have
going to
anything
lose.
to kill
Yeah.
you.
That's funny.
You just didn't have it.
Like, he just needed 4 points of damage, which he didn't cast a single Soulfire that game. Didn't cast, I'm pretty sure, a single Doom Guard
yeah,
either.
so like anything he has
Yeah.
just ends the game for you. No power overwhelmings, anything just ends it.
That's funny. So, Luke or Dave, do you guys have any in-game stories?
I don't, and honestly, the thing with Hunter is sometimes it doesn't make for very cool, like, stories. It's like, oh, I had a really good start and I crushed my opponent.
Yeah.
And
Or
they died.
I
Like,
made
you would
a
expect
really
them
big
to.
Undertaker.
Yeah, I made a
One
big
big game.
Undertaker, and there was no way they were going to deal with it.
Or I
through
lost to
everything.
the almighty Sludge Belcher.
Yeah, I was going to say, or my opponent killed my guys for the first couple turns and then cast a Sludge Belcher, and there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
The best thing I've done was cast a 16-10 Void Terror, and that was what I did today, actually, in my zoo list.
Yeah.
That was, like, the best thing I did. But that actually won me the game, and I had to make that. I actually power-overwhelming my Doom Guard, and I think I had an Abusive Sergeant, and I sacrificed both of them because they were I had no way to, like, make an enormous Void Terror, and I actually had to throw my Doom Guard with the power overwhelming into my opponent's Doom Guard because otherwise I would have lost the game. And after I had done that, it only made it so he had like 6 points of damage on the table, whereas if he had the extra Doom Guard, he would have all he needed was 2 more points to kill me. So I had to kill his Doom Guard, and while he's at 13 life, I'm pretty sure, I Void Terrored between the Abusive Sergeant and the Doom Guard with the power overwhelming, made it a 16-10, and then it just happened to kill him on the next turn. So I was like, sweet.
That's cool. I actually have kind of like 2 stories because one I found on our Tumblr page under this account called Golden Comments, and he had a play where he had like a Frothing Berserker that was like a 24-3 or something. I forget what it was. It was insane. It was obviously healed at some point because like just so much damage on it. Like it was huge, and this thing just. Like, the opponent had, like, 24 armor, and when you go back to it, his opponent has, like, 3 armor left, and, like, just a huge Frothing Berserker on the table. So it was pretty insane. But I had a situation where I was playing the Paladin deck, and actually we almost forgot that section. We're going to have to cover over that again before we close up the podcast. That'll be the last one we have on here. But I had a situation with the Paladin deck, which... my opponent was playing Handlock, and I was just in a really bad losing spot, and he got to the point where it was just like double Molten Giant, and just like started casting insane creatures. He already had a presence on the table, like a Silenced Ancient Watcher, and like an Ironbeak Owl out.
A bunch of problems.
And a bunch of problems I had to deal with. He had like a Black Knight on the table, and basically I just had the consecrated qualities, because I had a couple of guys. I had like a Sludge Belcher that turned into a 1/2, and like my Tyrion just got like annihilated and like didn't matter.
He got Black Knighted, didn't he?
Yeah, he got Black Knighted. So like I just had the consecrated quality, and it actually just ended up winning me the game, because like he was down to like only 2 cards in his hand, but Handlock draws cards back really fast.
Yeah.
And my hand was already just like full.
Well,
just,
and you had a 5/3 weapon.
Yeah, like at that point, like next turn, I actually, the reason why it became like almost practically full was because I had a Lay on Hands, and I'm just like gain 8, like keep my presence on the table. You don't really have anything big to cast. Like your Twilight Drake's a 4/2 if you play it. So
I had a weird question about Pallies, and you would know more than I. You and Paul would both know better than me because I don't play it as much. But in my list that I have on my account, I actually ended up cutting Lay on Hands, because when I did play the Pally list, it felt like in the early turns, since so often you're just hero building and passing,
yeah,
you're actually just accumulating cards in your hand, that once you get to the mid and late game, it felt like you're still only casting like 1, maybe 2 spells a turn while you're like going even into the late game.
Yeah.
That I never really had that small of a hand.
I think Lay on Hands is more constructed against decks that are more control oriented.
Right.
Because like because you can get to that situation where you've already played all your fat out of your hands, and your opponent has too, and you're just at this like kind of stalemate-ish type of situation,
like
and you just restock, and yeah, it can set you back a turn.
Because I ended up cutting it for a second Guardian of Kings. So I figured it was an expensive card. It was still an expensive card. It was a fatty. They both gained life, because you still want those points in your deck to gain you life against the aggro decks.
Yeah.
Because that Pally deck does take hits to the face a lot, since you're just making 1/1s a lot of the time.
I've been seeing people cut the Sphinx's Revelation. I can't think of what its name is.
Lay on Hands.
Lay on Hands. I've seen
That's
people
what
cut.
talking about.
Yeah, I know. I just brain farted. I've been seeing people cut the Lay on Hands for like a Ysera or something like that, just because it was a body that you can put on the table, and it also generated you the card advantage that you needed.
Yeah, I think my
I definitely don't think it's like a card that's like needs to be in the deck. Like there's a lot of alternatives, and I mean maybe it's just not the card that you want to play. But
I mean, I think.
Well, and also it's all this stuff is metagame dependent. So it's all like, do you
Yeah.
run into more aggressive decks than control decks, or more control decks than aggressive decks? Even
Right.
against mid-range decks, I actually don't like the Lay on Hands.
Mm.
Because even against the mid-range decks, you're kind of, neither of you are doing that much in the early game. You're both probably just tinkering around with your hero powers and just little stuff.
Mm.
So towards the late game, you're still going to have a bunch of cards in your hand. There's not going to be a great turn for you to draw 3 cards and spend your whole turn doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, like sometimes, like you have those turns where you go equality or Pyromancer equality, cast a dude. There's 3 cards out of your hand, and then the next turn, like you could be down to like 2 cards, and like you just like restock, and then you draw like.
Whereas the thing, that actually doesn't happen that often to me when I was playing the Paladin deck, because a lot of the threats are a lot of mana, so I can't go, like, unless we're waiting till, like, turn 10 and later, where then, like, I'm usually pulling the trigger on the equality, pulling that earlier than turn 10, and with a lot of your threats are, like, 6 drops and 5 drops, you can't do that whole combo and cast the dude in the same turn. You're doing that whole combo and making a 1/1.
Yeah.
And then you're drawing your card for the next turn.
I don't know.
And now
I just like Lay on Hands as a card.
It is really good if you're facing like a lot of like handlock, a lot of priest, and a lot of warrior control. Because those games will go long. You'll use the cards in your hand, and then you will want to refill.
You can actually like.
Well, and I like Lay on Hands because
you'll also get a turn.
sometimes you just have to gain 8 life. Gaining 8 life.
Well, that's why I played the
Pretty good.
king instead. The 7 mana 5/6 that gains 7.
body.
Because I was like, I'll just have a body. Because a lot of times I just couldn't even draw the 3 cards. Even if I wanted life. I hate burning cards.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should hate burning cards as much as I do, but I really don't like burning cards.
I think my opinion's like irrelevant because I like it Lay on Hands because I have a golden one.
And here it is. And now it's out.
Yeah, it's real good.
So if you got a golden Ysera, you'd rather play that?
Oh yeah.
Sweet,
do you
get
play
golden
Ysera
dream
Newest?
cards.
I
That'd be
don't, but
awesome.
I was actually
Yeah.
going to say that. I don't think Ragnaros is necessary.
No, because it gets big game hunter and nothing else in your deck does.
Yeah, and I think Ysera is just a better finisher.
Right.
So yeah, we should change that.
But yeah, you know, the card you can switch it up, and we talked about it in the list that we're about to go over. But you can switch it out for like a faceless manipulator, the card, which well actually you can just hop right into it. I'll just tell you exactly what's on the list. So this next section we're just going to go over 2 decks that we created right before the podcast, and we're going to start with our Paladin control deck. And what's in the Paladin control deck is Humility, Equality, Wild Pyromancer, Acolyte of Pain, Alador Peacekeeper, Big Game Hunter, Earthring Farseer, True Silver Champion, Consecration, Senjin, Shieldmaster Tajnango, Spellbreaker, Lotheb, Sludge Belcher, Stampeding Kodo, Karen Bloodhoof, Sylvanas Windrunner, the Black Knight, Guardian of Kings, Lay on Hands, Kel'Thuzad, Ragnaros, and Tyrion. Which, yeah, I think that we could shave this Ragnaros for a
Ysera.
well, yeah, a Ysera. Also, the Faceless Manipulator is a good plan.
Well, that big game hunter's not supposed to be in there.
Oh
We
yeah.
messed that up. That's supposed to be a faceless manipulator.
Okay. So we'll probably just end up switching this list to a Faceless Manipulator for the Earthring Farseer and for the
Yeah,
Ragnaros Ysera.
I think about the lay on hands, like, you just have to, like, judge it what you're playing against. If you're playing against a lot of control decks, leave it. If you're playing against a lot of aggro decks, just switch to a Guardian.
Yeah, very true.
And even if you want to play a Holy Light, like, it's not bad.
Do you not play a Holy Light? Because I've seen
No, it
most
doesn't
lists
play
usually
it.
play one just to work with the Pyromancer as a
Yeah.
spell.
This one list doesn't play it.
Hmm.
Like, your Pyromancer is literally just there to wipe the board. Like, it's not even
That's
a
fair.
creature.
That's usually what
It's
it is.
yeah, it's just a creature.
It's just that anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on to the next deck. Dave and Luke brewed this one up. And what deck is it?
It's a druid. I guess you'd call, it's just a druid mid-range deck here. It's
We got a cool name for it though.
it uses zombie chow, so we called it Chow Time because we're cool like that. It's fairly like normal to like the ramp druids where we have like you obviously just have the wind innervates and the wild growths to accelerate your mana, and the zombie chows are in there to just take some early board control, like away from the hunters primarily. Like if you can get ahead of that Undertaker draw and just nip that in the bud, you actually stop a lot of your problems. And you don't in this deck you don't care about 5 life at all. Like you'll kill them when you kill them.
Yeah.
And you don't mind throwing a zombie chow into like a 2/3 Undertaker and then just hero abilitying it.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Because Undertaker will just take over the game.
Right, and like the neat things about this deck, there's some cool synergies to it. It plays like the one of Black Knight with the one of Mark of the Wild. They can come together and work to kill something, or you know they're both good cards on their own. You know, most every deck has something with taunt in it that the Black Knight can get, and then just giving a zombie chow +2/+2 in taunt, making it a 4/5 taunt.
I mean, there's also
Doesn't
the
stink.
big
Mana
game
4/5s.
hunter with the Mark of the Wild for like against shaman lists
Right,
or
yeah.
something like that.
Or even a druid, they play an ancient and you make it a 7.
True.
And you big game hunter it.
What are some
And
other
the other
weird things?
The other stuff is fairly stock. We use a Cenarius at the top end instead of like a Ragnaros or something like that.
This could be like a Ysera too.
it,
now that I
it
think
could be an
about it.
Ysera. I was thinking about it. It could be an Ysera, and maybe it will become an Ysera.
Maybe
but
it should be a Ysera.
it's hard to say, but yeah, maybe we'll try that out. I kind of like it. I kind of dig Ysera. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not really a huge fan of scenarios because it doesn't really impact the board enough.
Yeah, it does feel like a bummer to spend 9 mana and like the thing you get is 2/2/2s with taunt.
Yeah, you rarely ever use his other ability unless you win.
Right, and I usually don't ever get to win with that
Yeah.
ability either. I
But
mean, the
what-
card's neat.
I mean, like,
The card's good. But the shades, I mean, it has 2 shades instead of like a Harvest Golem or something like that, which isn't actually that weird anymore. Like, that's kind of common because innervating a shade on turn 1 is such a powerful play. Like, just
there's
having
still a lot of people though
access
that
to
play
it.
the Harvest Golems.
Sure. And I think that's kind of where we have the zombie chows in our list, is where like people would be playing Harvest Golem. But it works nicely with the curve.
I mean, we actually have like the 3 legendaries at 6 mana, like Green Bloodhoof, Sylvanas Windrunner, and the Black Knight.
Yep, the Trinity.
They're friends.
Sometimes most decks I see usually only play 2.
Yeah, it's nice that we have room for all 3.
Yeah.
and we still have 1 Force of Nature, 1 Savage, so like we don't have the full like combo 2 of each combo piece, but you have it in there, so your opponent has to at least be afraid of it.
Yeah.
You know, you're not safe at 14 life, just not, and that's a nice thing to have access to.
No Lotheb.
No Lotheb.
Lotheb.
I would like a Lotheb, but it's just like, I mean, I guess if we were gonna fit one, you could.
I don't even know what we got.
It would have to be a Sludge Belcher, but I'd rather have 2 Sludge Belchers than a Lotheb.
Yeah. Or maybe one of our 6s, but that sounds awful.
Yeah, I'd rather have our 6s too. And Lotheb, like, this deck has a lot of taunt in it, so the, like, Lotheb's more powerful, I think, in an aggressive deck, where you're gonna, like, put out some dudes, slam Lotheb so they can't wipe the board on the turn they'd like to, they have to wait and take another hit.
Yeah.
Where this deck doesn't really abuse Lotheb very well. It helps at stopping rogue decks, but...
Mm.
Who's afraid of
One thing to also
Right.
note in this deck is there's not a single creature that gets Big Game Hunter.
Yes, which, with Handlock being a good deck again, I mean, I say again, but it's been a while now that it's been good, but...
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks where it's been good, and there's just so much value in people playing a Big Game Hunter in their decks. Most people are going to have one.
Yeah.
Or they're going to have some answer to a fatty in their deck that, like, you don't need to play Ragnaros in your deck to have a finisher. You can play another finisher.
Which is why I'd rather... I mean, we have Cenarius, but...
Yeah,
that's
actually,
why
I think
I'm kind of
Ysera's
liking the
better.
Ysera.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
as you
think
say,
it's
I
better.
like Ysera a
I think
lot.
we should make that change right now.
It also helps out a
Yeah.
lot more in the Priest matchup, which is something... And it's just better in the Druid matchup, too,
For sure.
because like,
Yeah.
it just gives you more card advantage.
Yep.
I like 7/6s for 4 and 3/5 Shrouds
I
for
rarely
3.
ever like. I rarely never like to get Nightmare.
Yeah, but
Like,
sometimes that just kills
yeah.
your opponent when they don't expect it to.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's nice that Nightmare can pump up a taunt creature you have, and the taunt creature dies on the
Yeah,
beginning
so
of your
it
next
still lives.
turn, so you'll still have this fat taunt on their turn
Yeah.
that they have to like chew through.
Yeah, it just buys you an extra turn, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Alright.
I guess you could also play as the finisher instead of Ysera, which maybe we should consider, is Kel'Thuzad.
I don't like it.
But he's harder to set up. Yeah, I don't either because he's really good, but he takes more work to set up. Where Ysera, you just drop, and your opponent has to now deal 12 damage to it, and you're like,
And you get a dream
yeah,
card
you get a
regardless.
card, which is just great.
And Kel'Thuzad, I feel like, is just not a shining card in this deck compared to like Paladin or Shaman or something like that. There's not enough taunt.
He has a cool animation.
There's a
when
lot
he
of
does
taunt.
it.
What are you talking about? There's
Four taunts.
6 taunts.
Oh, I guess with the Druidic Claws. Yeah, there's 6 taunts.
All right. And
Yeah, I have a list like this I was playing, but I wasn't playing Zombie Chow. It was just playing a bunch of taunts basically. And yeah.
Made my change already.
Okay. Yeah, I told you right now.
I won you, Sarah.
Yeah, I really like Ysera actually. I haven't actually given this list a shot yet on the ladder, but I do really want to try it.
That's probably what we're gonna do.
It's really solid. I like it. Ancient of Lore is really good. It reminds me of Muldrifter, and that makes me feel happy.
Mhm.
yeah. All right, so we're pretty much done here. I'm just going to go over one more thing before we go. We got a fan mail this week, and it was from a person named Daniel, and we just want to thank you very much for getting the fan mail this week. And I can just read you quickly part of what it said. It said, so the podcast Tumblr blog followed me the other day. I assume because I post Hearthstone things every other day or so whenever I'm playing, and I've only just gotten around to listening to it. Just have to say, you've definitely made a fan in me. Great content. You all work so well together, have fun, and stuff you talk about. That's a huge help for me, and I'm sure many other players. I've only just decided to start attacking the ladder this season, not bothered even though I was in the closed beta, and within a week I was up to rank 5, beating players with the legend card back. That probably doesn't count for, he wrote in quotations, that probably doesn't count for much, but I like to imagine it does for the sake of my ego. And I just kind of wanted to ask you guys that question too. Is basically just like, do you feel like it stimulates your like
it for
morale?
sure doesn't matter.
It's
Yeah.
But it
ego-
does feel
it's-
nice.
It's
Yeah.
When
definitely
you
an
beat
ego
someone with the
boost.
legend sleeves on.
But
it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
But congratulations.
Yeah, Yeah. So
I
we
wish you
basically
got extra stars for doing that, but
Yeah. just want to say thank you, Daniel. Thank you for sending in your
Yeah,
email.
greatly
Now that you read this one, though, you have to read every piece of hate mail we get, too. So
Yeah.
if you listen and you hate it, just
Even if it has-
email Josh
even if it
with
has-
your hate mail, and he'll read it.
I will try to read everything that isn't
All hate
have
mail.
a bunch of profanities in it, but yes.
Yeah, keep it G.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, keep your hate
Is this
on
holding
the
me up to the
clean.
word for it? Yeah, keep your hate on the clean, okay? All right. But if you do want to email us and send us a review, just let us know how we're doing, or if you want to have us send you a plug, whatever, if you want to contact us, just email us at theweeklygrindpodcast@gmail.com. And we also are on Facebook at facebook.com/theweeklygrindpodcast. We are also on Tumblr at theweeklygrindpodcast.tumblr.com. And pretty soon we're going to be up on Hearthstone calendar, which is pretty cool. We'll probably end up setting that up tonight. But right after this podcast, we're going to go straight into doing the rest of the video. So check in. That should be up soon, and this will be done within the next few days. Should be. We should have more videos coming out though very soon. We're going to try to do more arenas and possibly try the Hearth stats draft and play some ranked for you. So check that out. We'll be posting them up all week.
What's the YouTube channel?
We actually don't have like a distinct YouTube channel name because
Yeah, it's got weird
I don't think
numbers and letters
YouTube
in it.
lets you. But you can find us. Our YouTube name is Weekly Grind, the channel
Okay,
name.
yeah, that's what I meant.
But if
That's literally what I meant.
Okay.
it's not like
But-
youtube.com/theweeklygrind. Like
Yeah.
I wish that they let you do that.
Well, no,
they
but like
don't.
if you were at YouTube, that's what you would.
Yeah.
In YouTube,
Yeah.
you would search for the Weekly Grind, and that's.
Exactly.
and you can also find us on iTunes too if you want to listen to us on iTunes. We also we have are trying to get more websites out there to listen to us on, and yeah. And that pretty much concludes the end of this week's podcast. And my name is Josh, SpiritBomb.
My name is Dave, WingsofWax.
I'm Luke, Entropy.
And I'm Paul, Ricecakes.
You guys have a great week and grind on.